What makes a good story? When I think of a story, I usually think of an arc. It has a beginning, it's building up, only to crash down, then skyrocketing up into the climax and trailing happily into resolution. When I apply this to my life, however, it looks nothing like that. I wouldn't say I've ever reached my highest high or had my lowest low. In fact, I might have 5 of each in a week. So, if my life isn't this story, is it still one? And if so, what kind of role do I get to play in it? When I was 3, I fell in love with performing. My mom told me that I used to sing Jingle Bells in a rocking chair before I knew the words, just the melody. And although this snapshot about me is so small, it established a core part of who I am. I love to express. And this knowledge about myself came through knowing my story. See, I believe we all have things like this, little tidbits, little nuggets about ourselves that we don't realize but weave themselves into larger themes as we continue to live. I didn't know that music was going to become so foundational in my life when I was 3. But I did know by my lived experience that doing it gave me joy. This theme of music greater manifested itself in my life when I did music research for 1 year in college. My project, called the Dinosaur Choir, sought to recreate what dinosaurs truly sounded like through music. With a software program that my professor had spent a decade developing and measuring our voice box activity and facial movement, we created musical compositions using the voice of a dinosaur. During this time, we did performances I will never forget. And although this was strange and unfamiliar to me at first, it now serves as a reminder of just how much we can learn when we encounter what is different from us. See, I have a philosophy. No story is wasted. Every experience has value that deserves to be acknowledged and utilized. It sounds simple, and talking about it, it is. But when applied to life, it suddenly becomes profound. Every experience, and I mean every experience, mattered into becoming who you are today. I call this way of adapting our life approach the actor's mindset. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of an actor, I think luxury, glamour, and then I really think about it and I realize they're just weird. Because on the inside, they're also just artists. In the mainstream media, we may portray mansions on the seaside and red carpets, but I think in that we dismiss the effort and craft these people put into their work to get from an audition to the red carpet. See, they throw their entire being into what they do when they prepare for a role. They may gain fluency in a language. They may learn how to hold their breath underwater for several minutes. Heck, they might even subject their body to drastic physical changes. It is impressive, the lengths these people are willing to go for their line of work. And if you ask me, most people would never sign up for it. Yet, again and again, we see these people, actors, chasing after the stories they want to be a part of creating. In the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he further reaffirms this point that success is created in everyday routine and not just an overnight achievement. What he coins as 1% improvements is the concept that micro developments over time creates greater growth than upholding ourselves to massive achievement overnight. This means that we need to stop expecting ourselves to be perfect at what we do, and instead view ourselves and our relationships with others as long-term investments. Because we are not just one chapter or one story, but we are a whole that makes up who we are. And in the same way that actors use their whole experience to adapt and shift to a role, we can use our whole experience and how we adapt to living our everyday lives. In light of this, I think we also need to flip the script, that performance is the place for perfection rather than practice. See, performance is just the execution of practicing. It is a final product, but it's never finished because we are never finished people. Think of a script. The screenwriter, there's scenes in it, various courses of dialogue. They're not all going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean the screenwriter just throws them out. In the same way, we can't throw out the parts of our stories that we dislike or we are uncomfortable with, because if we did so, it would no longer be accurate. Every part of your story serves a function that deserves and is worthy of being acknowledged for that function that it serves. Simultaneously, while we have this toolbox that is our past, we are in constant expansion as we continue to live our lives. No story is wasted because every opportunity you encounter is a further chance for you to grow. And the more that you seek this growth, the more you will. In this life, effort does get you the gold star. This has recently been discovered as the IKEA effect or the effort paradox. The more work you put into something, the more value you will feel towards it. Now, speaking of actors, if I had to think of a movie that fits this concept, I would have to choose La La Land. Released in 2016, it follows the story of the two main characters, Mia and Sebastian, in their romance as they have big dreams to make it in Hollywood. And although, I'm sorry to spoil, their romance does not last to the end of the film, I believe the portrayal of their lives is often what ours looks like. They do achieve their dreams, but it's separately. They do grow, but they grow apart. The film, concluding with a quiet shared gaze, controversially argued, I believe is a moment in which they are recognizing the value they hold in one another because of the investment they put into each other's dreams during their relationship. Not only that, but their relationship was what then prepared them for when they did achieve their dreams, as they stepped into a new part of their story. You never know what occurring right now in your life could be preparing you for a future challenge. You can't control the circumstances, but you will never know the impact you can make unless you try, regardless of the outcome. We all take chances on things. I took a chance on this outfit. It's true. You could take a chance saying hello to someone after this, or saying yes to a new friend and hanging out with them later this week. You never know when showing care in the novel and random things pays off, and oftentimes it is those small moments that are the most rewarding long term. Because it's not always about our own growth, but also the impact we make on others along the way. Let's go back to my dinosaur project. There were other ways I could have tried to cultivate the skills I did during that job, but I never would have met the people that I did. The relationships that were built during that experience allowed me to see the world just for a little bit from a different point of view. I got to see the intricacies of what it was like to do research as a career, and I got to see the passion they had for dinosaurs, music, and coding. You never know what new things you could try. So in light of this, I ask you, what have you yet not considered? What is stopping you from trying? These things, we don't look at them because we're outsiders to them. But I think that's the problem, because we don't think like how an insider would. For example, my parents can find anything in my house way faster than I can right now. Why? Because I live where I go to college, whereas our home is an everyday setting in their lives. That's why it takes me 20 minutes to find a pencil, and it takes my mom 2 seconds. You might know your favorite restaurant better than anyone else, or the environment of your work desk. There are the highs and the lows to the places that you inhabit that you have left a mark on, but have also left a mark on you. Actors are people who are constantly seeking these new settings that others have been, both tangible and intangible, in hopes that it rubs off on them and they are better able to portray that role in their line of work. For us, this means that we need to seek the settings, the people, the places, and things that we want to shape us. The things that may just be what we need when a time comes for that quality learned to shine. This is our toolbox, our story, the reference manual for how we face future outcomes and circumstances. You can create as expansive of a toolbox as you want in the same way actors do to be able to portray a role. For us, this role is our lives, our story. Now, I'm not saying you can control the curves of the line. You may drop your toothbrush tomorrow morning. You may miss your ride to work. You might even hit your head on a door frame. But you can control how you act when those circumstances come. And just as much as the inconvenient and the bad, there are good things we need to be prepared for. When someone we love tells us we are appreciated, or we are given an unexpected gift. When the sun hits the world at just the right angle, I want us to be people that have the perspective to stop and notice the good in that. To see that no experience is wasted, and that taking the time to show care and intentionality in the smallest and most unconventional of places will always pay off in return. You get to perform every day how you want to live your life. It could be trying a new hobby. It could be quitting a bad habit. It could be investing in a new relationship or reconciling with one you already have. Anything is possible when you are willing to take that first step. And so, I implore you, start participating in your life instead of bystanding in it. I call you to be an actor, to use what you already have to pave you forward instead of hold you back. I hope that this changes you, that you see that your experience matters, every part of it, good and bad. I hope that you remember and reflect on the people and the places and the opportunities you have been given that have poured into you to make you who you are today as a culmination of your humanity and how you have lived your life thus far. And I hope that you hold on close to your heart every small moment that mattered so much more than you will ever know. Thank you. That's my prayer.